Hello, everyone. Welcome to a not midnight edition of the Missing Wolves postgame live stream podcast thing. I'm Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage. The Wolves are back in the winning track, and Brandon Beck from Crunch Wears No Pants is here to hang out. How's it going, Brandon?
Like I said right before we hopped on here, it's going better than I expected it to be going when you messaged me halfway through the first quarter and said, "Are you still on for tonight?"
I mean, as the game was unfolding, like Bones checks in and just kind of goes off. And I was like, boy, this is going to be a heater from Brandon. And then Nas goes down and returns like a hero. And I'm like, oof, this is fixing up. Julius has a great game. And then Kyle just does all of the Kyle stuff. I mean, are you just on cloud 9 right now? Like, where's your mental at right now?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm feeling better right now. It's been a rough week and a half in Wolves land. And I mean, going into tonight, I think like I tweeted yesterday that the Suns' loss yesterday kind of lowered the impending doom meter from a 10 to a 7. Because they weren't playing for like their play-in lives today, but for all intents and purposes, they were. And we got the Ant news earlier today. So it was setting up to be like an all-timer bad day.
Yeah.
And they played pretty well for the first time in really since that Toronto game 2 weeks ago. Like, so yeah. And like you said, just good performances all around, which I think is an encouraging thing to see, that it wasn't just on the shoulders of just this one boomlet performance from someone, but it was like the good version of Julius, everyone on the bench kind of doing their thing. I mean, sure, they're not going to get what was 22 from Bones every game, but like, I don't know, just kind of good things from a lot of guys in a game that they like desperately needed just to kind of stop the bleeding, stop the snowball from going down the hill.
I think what was encouraging to me is they didn't necessarily do anything great. Like, they rebounded better than they have been. They still had 16 turnovers. I mean, that's not ideal. 32% from 3. They, shot over 50% from the field, but just like the vibes, like from the end of the first quarter on, like the team looked like it was having fun for the first time in 2 weeks, maybe even for the first time since like the All-Star break. It just looked like an actual team, which, I mean, we'll just start off with, I guess, Julius. I mean, he has now strung together 2 really good games. I mean, I wish I knew what kind of caused his fall off and then now this like mini resurgence. But I mean, getting this version of Julius just kind of changes everything for this team.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen it throughout the year that like when Ant sits, it kind of crystallizes for Julius. Like, it makes his role on the team a lot more clear, which I think is really helpful for him in a lot of degrees. And like the Suns don't really, without Dylan Brooks, don't really have a great matchup for Julius either. But I mean, I think we're going to focus on the Suns game, but I think rewinding to the Thunder game a couple days ago, like as bad as that game kind of felt in the totality of it, I think it was good that we saw proof of concept that Julius Randle is capable of playing well against that team, because up until this point, he had been basically batting over against them. And yeah, like it's no secret that for the last 2 months, Julius Randle has been playing some of his worst basketball in a Wolves uniform. And so hopefully these last couple of games here are him starting to kind of come out of that, because we know that Julius Randle is not, like, as frustrating as he can be at times, like he is a better player than what he was playing as in those 2 months. And so if we're kind of like getting into one of those Julius Randle heaters, it's coming at the right time without Anthony Edwards. And if they have big dreams in the playoffs, they are going to need a really good version of Julius Randle. Like, I know everyone hates the Chris Finch quotes, but like, they're not going to sub their way to the Western Conference Finals. Like, they're not going to, if Julius Randle isn't a borderline all-star caliber player, they are not going to be like, they're not just going to bench him. And without that, they're not good enough to win playoff series. So really encouraging stuff these last couple of games.
And I mean, if they did bench him, like it's just kind of over, like they just don't have enough talent if Julius is not playing at all. I mean, one thing I thought was kind of interesting too about this one is like they did really let Julius kind of run the entire offense and just kind of run the show. Io ends up getting 17 shots as kind of the Ant facsimile. I mean, you can throw Dante. He was doing some Ant stuff as well, but like 25 shots between the two of them. And like Dante didn't hit many shots, but like all of them were good looks off of like Julius kind of starting the play, rotating the ball, moving it. Like it does kind of show like a proof of concept, to steal your phrase, of like Ant can play off ball. Like he does not need as many ISOs to be effective. And I think we saw like a pretty good look at that with Io. What did you kind of think of it though?
Yeah, I mean that's the best version of Julius Randle is like kind of like the combo playmaker scorer thing. And I think sometimes him and Ant, they're not an ideal pairing, but they have worked together in stretches in different areas. And I do think like when it kind of bogs down as it did kind of these last couple of weeks, it just bogs down into like those guys become so indecisive, and then that slows everything else down. And then when Julius is holding for a really long time, then Ant doesn't want to get off the ball when he has it. And when Ant's holding for a really long time, Julius doesn't want to get off the ball when he has it, because they're not confident that the ball is going to get back to them, or that the ball is going to like pop around and find the right guy. Which is why, like I said, I think having no Ant in this game probably helped from just like a clarity of role perspective. And hopefully they can get kind of the same effect maybe that they got last season from Julius being out, where Ant is sitting there watching and going like, okay, this is how it works. Like when I'm more activated off ball, because I think to some degree, another kind of Ant thing is that when things start to go south, he tends to kind of like try to wrestle more control of the offense. And it's not born of selfishness. It's born of he believes in himself and he is the best offensive player on the team. But to some degree, it's kind of like while he's keeping the ship afloat by doing that stuff, he's also like poking more holes in it to do it.
I mean, I have a piece coming out tomorrow just on kind of the like in the weeds stuff of how much ball movement affects this team's defense. And like, as you're talking about, like when Ant and Jaden are kind of doing the, I'm not sure if the ball's going to come back, they're both kind of just dribbling it and running ISOs. Like guys like Jaden and Rudy are the guys that suffer. And then like, I do think just human nature, if you haven't touched the basketball in like 20 real minutes, like not NBA minutes, but like 20 real minutes, you just kind of lose a little bit of engagement. Like I both of them admitted to as much at practice. So I feel pretty confident saying that like that is the case. But like also like, yeah, probably sucks when you're guarding Devon Booker for 40 minutes tonight. And like if Ant did play, there probably would have been a 20-minute stretch where like you don't even have a chance to like get a get back on him. Kind of the same with Rudy. Like I think we saw his rebounding quite a bit better because like Io looks for him, which varying degrees. I think he did have one kind of rebound attempt where he threw it off the stanchion, and it is
the
what it is.
The one where he like swatted it in transition. That one was hilarious.
It's just like it's gonna happen. But I think like the next evolution of Ant is realizing that like, all right, Rudy's probably going to do something crazy with this, but like we got to give him this. Or like Jaden hasn't touched the ball in 10 minutes. I did notice like the third quarter, I think Jaden went 3 minutes of game time without touching the basketball game. They subbed without touching the basketball. They subbed Kyle in for Julius. The first play Kyle was on the court, he got Jaden the ball within like 8 seconds. Like, I think that stuff matters. And I do think I fully agree with you that like, I think if Ant's looking at this game and he says, and he's like, wow, Ao and Dante went 1 for 10 on open threes, essentially. Like that's 12 points for Ant.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, they're better without Ant, because they're not better
No,
without Ant, right?
we're not saying that at all.
Like, obviously they're not better without Ant. It's going to be a really, really tall task for them next week when they play Boston, Houston, and Detroit, probably without Ant in all three of those games. Like, that is a tall order. It's more a matter of like, can this be kind of like a proving ground for things? And can this be kind of an exhale, like opportunity for some guys to stretch their wings and try some different things and maybe just kind of get back into a rhythm, because things had kind of just stagnated in kind of every area prior to today.
I mean, it just did. And again, like, the weird thing with this team is like they get 28 assists on 43 makes. I mean, that's not like a crazy high assist percentage, but it just felt so much different. Pack Mentality brings up in the chat, like, AO and Bones are so fast. And like Kyle gets the rebound and he's so slow, but he like makes the outlet pass and it kind of makes everything different, instead of like Ant getting the outlet pass and kind of dribbling it up slowly, or Julius getting the rebound and taking it himself. Like, I do think like Ant being able to kind of look at this from afar, getting healthy, is going to be a big boon for this team. I mean, the other thing is like Jaden looked awesome tonight, which some of that might be he just rises to the Devin Booker occasion, but
he hates Devin Booker.
he just does not like him. And like the pettiness is on full display, which I love.
When he just threw the basketball at him after the timeout.
It's also like Jaden had, 4 steals tonight. And my kind of favorite thing in a game is just watching Jaden when he's having a good game, because that guy starts talking, he starts doing hand motions, he's just gets kind of loose. And like the entire game he was talking to Booker. Like, I don't know how to get that out of him every game, but like maybe he just needs a villain on every team.
Yeah, you just got to find someone that he hates. That's another, like, he's usually pretty good at like mustering up that hatred in the playoffs, which I think is why he's like typically rises to the occasion in the playoffs. Because I think he kind of has a little bit of the same thing for like SGA.
Yep.
And I mean, there's a handful of other guys, but yeah, Booker is the one that really like gets the real rise out of him.
Someday I hope he gets an biography and someone does an entire chapter just on like, why Booker? Because
it would be the fewest words possible. Like,
like I don't understand it, but like, man, that guy just really does not enjoy Devin Booker. I mean, I guess like the other kind of main topic from tonight is just like Kyle Anderson was awesome. I asked Finch after the game, like, Kyle had a couple plays in the second half where like he made the pass to Naz Reid and then was like yelling at Naz Reid to pass it to Io in the corner. And like, man, did I miss that. How's your slow-mo experience been so far?
I mean, I think tonight was the best game he's played since he come back. It's been a little bit of a mixed bag, I think. Like, I think we can point to the Oklahoma City game on Sunday as an example of like, to some degree, I don't know if Chris Finch can really help himself with Kyle. And I think to some degree too, Kyle protects Chris Finch from not being able to help himself with Mike Conley, which is, I think, a good thing in the aggregate. But like, Chris Finch needs to have, like, he desperately relies on these like really, really high IQ, flawed in a lot of ways players. And so Kyle, like I said, it's been a mixed bag. I think like the mixed lineups with Rudy worked today, but were kind of problematic in some of these previous games. But yeah, we got kind of the vintage Kyle Anderson, the not quite triple double, but flirting ish with a triple double type of stuff. We had 7, 5, and 6 with only 1 turnover, and just like really, really, really good on the defensive end. And that's just like desperately needed from this team that just kind of can't defend with Rudy off the floor. And so I found like I think this is what they imagined, right, when they brought in Kyle Anderson, was that he was going to kind of plug a lot of the little holes that they had, where it was like can he like hoist up the defense a little bit in the second unit? And can he like bump up the basketball IQ by 2 points and like inspire a little bit of ball movement and get them out in transition a little bit more, all while not being like single-handedly awesome at anything, but just like a little bit better at all of the things they need him to do.
It was kind of wild too that like I'm just looking at like two-man stats. Like Kyle and Randall played 13 minutes together with kind of the majority of that was like some of it was with like Kyle playing the 3, but like at least half of that was Kyle playing the 5 or the 4 and Randall playing the other one, and like had a plus 29 net rating. But he does just solve a lot of problems for them defensively because he just kind of gets it. And then on offense, like he just passes the ball, which I know Rudy got a lot of flack for that when he was asked, like,
that was weird.
What are you excited or what did this team miss without Kyle? And he's just like, he passes. Like, I thought Rudy was just being honest and funny,
but then like Kendrick Perkins, who famously Kendrick Perkins literally got to post up the first play of every Thunder game for his whole career because he was he wouldn't try if he didn't get the ball.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Rudy's pretty spot on. Kyle plays 24 minutes and takes 4 shots. Like, this team just desperately needs guys that aren't looking to get themselves going, which I think that's why Finch goes to a guy like Mike or goes to a guy like Kyle. And it's so like ingrained in his DNA because like when the flow gets off on this offense, I think not many people understand that like this is a train heading off a cliff and not like, and it's not good that they're just making these tough shots, right?
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, I think that's like one of kind of the fatal flaws of the Timberwolves is I think that like what Kyle Anderson and Mike Conley do is they value every possession. And I don't think that this team values every possession 100%. Like, there is just a lot of like early shot clock, Julius Randle, 15-footer that's like marginally contested. And it's like, that's a shot you can make, but like, that's probably like 70% the quality of the shot we could generate if we like really went for it. But they just kind of like take like those like half possessions that they don't really value. And then it kind of like aggregates out versus like Kyle Anderson and Mike Conley, like those guys when they are on the floor are trying to generate the best shot on the floor. Granted, they create all sorts of problems just from like a skill standpoint. Yes. That's why they're like, if they were as good as Julius Randle, that with that mentality, they would be all NBA players. Like,
do you imagine if Kyle just had like Julius's scoring bag? Like he would be an all NBA player.
If he could just shoot, like seriously.
I mean, I know this offseason, the Wolves need a point guard thing is going to get brought up again. And I know people are going to be talking about Kyrie and they're going to be talking about everyone because the Wolves are going to have assets to move and contracts to match. But like, I don't think they need like a point guard necessarily. They just need like a better version of whatever this is, like that old school point guard mentality. And I don't know if that's getting like a Sabonis in here because Sabonis does similar things with the Kings, has his flaws as you're making a gross face. I don't know
if this team's bad defensively now, Andrew. Swap
Rudy for Sabonis.
Rudy Gobert for Domantas Sabonis.
Games would be exciting.
We would be the Kings.
But like, that's what I think they need more than anything else is just this type of mentality. Pack mentality agrees with you. This type of mentality in a player that can play 30 minutes. Cause like to your point, like Dante does the same things where it's like 7 seconds into a shot clock and he's just launching a 3 behind a screen.
And that's the thing. Like they're so good that like they believe in themselves and they can make these shots. And it's like, the question, like with 15 seconds left on the shot clock, isn't can you make this shot? It's like, should you take this shot?
Yes. Which I mean, oddly, Io, I mean, he only had 2 assists tonight, but I think he's a guy that kind of gets it a little bit more where he tries to move it. Maybe I know people the last stream were talking about like a switch with the starting lineup. Like that's not happening this year, but like if Io's the future of what their iteration is, maybe he can bring some of that. But like right now, there's just such a drastic difference in guys that understand like the mental kind of basketball intelligence side of it and guys that are just uber confident scorers.
Yeah, and you need both of those things, right?
Yes.
Like you can't fill out a team of Mike Conleys and Kyle Andersons, and you can't have a whole team. I mean, a whole team of Anthony Edwards would be amazing.
I don't know. I would be pretty pumped of an entire Kyle Anderson team. Just a bunch of 6'8" dudes, slow stepping and passing the ball. I'd call me in.
The scores of those games would be like 30-28.
Just impeccable ball movement and defense and nothing else. Brandon, I'm going to throw us over to a couple ads here. When we get back, I do want to kind of preview the next couple weeks without Ants and just like where this team's at this point. But first, we got to run some ads. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read, this time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. So as it is in the Western Conference, like the Wolves are just, I mean, they're now tied for the 4 seed with the Rockets, and they are a half game ahead of the Nuggets, who are 1 game behind the Wolves in the loss column.
Yeah,
and they have 3 games on the Sun now.
They'll be behind the Nuggets in not too terribly long. The Nuggets are up by 27 right now in the fourth quarter.
So Wolves will still be the 6th seed. They'll be tied with the Rockets and the Nuggets, and a game and a half behind the Lakers. 3 games ahead of the Sun. I guess that if there is like a positive spin on it, like 13 games left, the Suns catching the Wolves would kind of be a stretch, I would say. But like no Ant for 1 to 2 weeks, and you got Jazz, Trailblazers, both seem like trap games for this team. And then Celtics, Rockets, Pistons. I mean, that is there's nothing that we can assume out of these next 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Ant injury kind of, I think we do need to kind of rethink the like hopes and expectations for the team a little bit, because granted, like you said, I'm sort of done like predicting what's going to happen with the team, because a couple weeks ago it felt like they were just rolling at the right time. And this team kind of always weirdly bounces back when you don't expect them to. But like they just have a brutal stretch of schedule here without Ant. And in a situation like I just kind of think like the idea that they're going to get like all the way up to 3 is probably pretty unrealistic. And so like I think today's game was super important. Because my focus has totally shifted to just like avoid the play-in. If we're going to be playing, like if more than half of our last 13 games are going to be without Ant, with 2 of them against Detroit and 2 of them against Houston, like it's just a really, really tall task to try to gain ground in the conference. So like, I think it's mostly just like breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. Like the job isn't finished, but today's win was a huge one as far as just like they're in a good spot now that they're probably going to get in. And like, quite frankly, if they're not going to get all the way up to 3, which like they can, but I'd be surprised given like the tiebreaker scenario and the schedule and no Ant and all that stuff. I don't really know like if I care all that much about the difference between like 4 and 6. Cause like a home court would be helpful, but like there is benefits to being in the 4-5 from a standpoint of like that probably means you're going to play Houston, who I think is probably the weakest of the teams in that glut. At least that's what it looks like right now. But that puts you on the same side as Oklahoma City versus if you're at 6, you're probably going to be playing the Lakers. Like maybe not, like there's a lot of shaking out. Like a lot of those teams play each other still a bunch. And so the Lakers have handled them like 3 times, but I don't think the Lakers are nearly as good as their record necessarily suggests. And then they're on the opposite side, but they don't have home court. So there's all sorts of like yeses and nos with all these things. And now I'm, like I said, I'm just to the point now where I don't think they can get up to 3, which was like the dream because that gave you everything. You're playing the team that's in 6th, you have home court, and you're on the opposite side of Oklahoma City. That like perfect scenario is probably gone.
Yeah. I mean, a game and a half behind the standings. Like I know it's possible. Like, you know, you finish 10-3, like, yeah, you can overtake probably all of them. I don't think they finished 10-3, but like you'd have to leapfrog the Nuggets, the Rockets, and the Lakers, like leapfrogging 3 teams when those teams play each other
past them. Like you can't,
aside from Houston, can't tie with them.
They can still win a tiebreaker against Houston, but like they cannot, they lost the tiebreaker already to LA and Denver. So they need to like, not like a game and a half behind the Lakers is like they're 2 back in the loss column. That is 3 games back, like that they need to make up. They need to make up 3 losses on the Lakers.
Which if it's just one team, I think you could talk yourself into it a little bit more. But like the odds that the Nuggets, Rockets, and Lakers are all going to be 3 games worse than the Wolves, like that's just that maybe 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I don't think this team like necessarily like fears anyone. Like they're irrationally confident to a fault, I would say. I like if they end up playing the Nuggets in the first round, that's to me like the worst case scenario. Like then you're like, if you're the 4 seed and the Nuggets are the 5, then you're setting up a path where you're going Nuggets, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and then in the finals it's like Boston or Detroit. Like that is like no one wins championships when they're going through that type of murderer's row. So like then it's like, I mean, you hate to think that they're gonna like not toss games, but like try to position themselves, because we see that go bad for teams every year. But like you got to figure the Lakers, they have so many flaws. Rockets, I say it all the time, like it's a lot of Kevin Durant. Like
the Rockets are like, I think you could listen to a Rockets podcast and they are equally, if not more, frustrated than Timberwolves fans this season. Like the Rockets are just the Timberwolves of the South.
It is so much. The Rockets games I've watched, the amount of Kevin Durant in clutch time is, I mean, that Kevin Durant is like a top 10 player of all time. Like I'll stand on that. I'm a Kevin Durant guy, but like it is a lot of 37-year-old Kevin Durant just trying to make anything go right because no one else can hit a shot. And I think if the Wolves get them in the playoffs, like that's, they got Jaden McDaniels, right?
I think they are the team that they're the team of the 3 potential first round matchups, like the realistic ones. Like there's obviously scenarios where crazy stuff happens and Phoenix gets in or something, like, but realistically they're going to play Denver, LA, or Houston in the first round. And I think Houston is the one that I would definitively pick the Wolves against. Yep. You know, a week ago I would have said the same about the Lakers, but now we just like, I know there's the Suns thing from a couple years ago where you can kind of throw out the regular season, but like the Lakers have just worked them 3 straight times. So like something's going on there.
I mean, it's it's weird with the Lakers too, because it's like DeAndre Ayton's not had a good season. You wouldn't know that by watching him play the Wolves. Like, he's been awesome against the Wolves. Austin Reeves just like freaks this team out. Like, I don't know what it is about him, but like he just always seems to just get more like free throw attempts and get inside of people's heads. And then like Luka just, I don't know what you do with Luka. I do think like if I had to put money, like Wolves or Lakers, like I think I'd still bet on the Wolves just because like the Wolves haven't really had a good game against them yet. Like they've all been pretty terrible. The Nuggets are the one where it's like if that team gets healthy come playoff time, I mean,
I think that's the second best team in the NBA if they're healthy. Like
exactly.
And I just
like,
have
I just don't know what
respect for a healthy fear of Nikola Jokic.
I mean, that's what it is. It's like, I just don't know what the Wolves can do with him. Like the year they had the double big of Cat and Gobert and Nas off the bench, they could kind of throw enough guys at him. I mean, Julius, I guess, like theoretically has the strength to kind of match up with him, but like the Nuggets, when they're locked and loaded and like Aaron Gordon's healthy, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s had a great season. I mean, I just don't know how the Wolves are going to handle that, which that's why it's like they have to avoid it. You can pull an upset against like one or two of these teams. If you have to do it against all three and in the finals, like seeding is kind of the most important thing. So I think tonight, to your point again, like did a great job of keeping them out of the play-in. But now it's just like, how does this team navigate it to where they're giving themselves the best chance, I guess, which I don't know, maybe in that sense, like not having Ant for 2 weeks and letting him get healthy.
Yeah, I mean, more important than your matchups and everything is, does Ant's knee feel good for game one of the playoffs? Like, I would much rather be the 6th seed against the Denver Nuggets with a fully healthy Ant than be the 3 seed against the Houston Rockets with Ant on a bum knee. Like, I think though, like that is the priority, right? Is having him, your best player, your playoff X factor, be ready to go for game one of the playoffs. And that's why tonight's win was so important, because it was looking a little like, are they going to get into the playoffs?
it was looking rough. I do think like there is going to be some more of that resting, maybe not like this next week or so, but if they get like 4.5, 5 games over Phoenix for that play-in spot with like if the Wolves win the next 2 and Phoenix like drops 1 and they have 4 games ahead of that 6 seed or that 7 seed, I do think like Naz Reid is playing really banged up right now. Like that dude's shoulder looks like it's about to fall off. He twisted his ankle pretty bad tonight. I mean,
he was limping around. He was limping around out there. Like he could barely move in the second half.
A Warriors performance by him. I was kind of shocked. Also a weird Naz Reid thing, but whenever he goes down and it looks like he's died, like no one from the training staff comes over until like Dante checks on him. I've just noticed that it's always Dante that goes over like, hey bud. And then like if he's actually dying, someone from the training staff comes over, but it's like, why is Dante the first guy checking on Naz? Anyways, that's just an aside, but like I wouldn't be surprised if like you see Nas sit for like a week and a half. Julius, I think, has been battling through stuff all season. Like he's popped up.
He wants to play 82.
I mean, yeah, I these dudes have contract stuff in there that I don't know about, and I'm guessing some of that is like games marks and stuff. Like honestly, like Jaden, wouldn't be surprised if they give him like a day off so he can get like a 4-day break without having to play a game. Like I do think, you know, health is kind of the priority. And as long as they have that, we're not going to fall into the play-in, they can kind of mess around with it, which is something they haven't really been able to do all season because this team just puts themselves in positions where they don't have any room for error, which is infuriating at times, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing you'd like that because you'd like that because they've been so healthy up to this point, that Ant having knee soreness this time of year, that they would have built up some sort of a healthy lead because they've been so much more healthy than these other teams they're jockeying for positions with. But that's just not the case because they've dropped so many winnable games and infuriating blown leads and losses in games to teams that were not even trying to win. Like, so that's just the reality that they're living in right now, despite what you would like them to be able to do in this situation.
It is wild, like at the end of the season, looking back, and they're probably going to finish like in that 4, 5, 6 range and maybe be like a game and a half out of third. And looking back, we're going to be able to be like, well, there's the Phoenix game where they had a 99.9% winning percentage and lost.
Denver on
and then there's the
Christmas Day.
Sacramento game. There's Brooklyn. There's Atlanta.
Sacramento and Phoenix was back-to-back games.
It was wild. And it's
then there's
like
Christmas
after
Day against Denver when they Ant hits the 3 and they clearly thought the game was over. Like they were celebrating. And then Nikola Jokic was just like, I am going to score every time now.
And then they win it in overtime, and everyone's kind of like, the amount of games we're going to be able to look back on of just like what happened is, I mean, they might have left like 10 or 12 wins out there by the end of the season, which I know every team has these type of lulls, but like not every team is losing like a back-to-back on heartbreaking comebacks. It's such a weird team. I guess I'll kind of last thing I'll bring up. Pack Mentality mentions Johan. Have you been paying attention to him in the G League?
I mean, I've been seeing like the tweets and the highlights. I know he's killing it down there. I am always hesitant to read too much into the G League stats because it is a different sport they are playing down there. It is all about running in transition and fouling. Like it is just transition and fouls. Like it's a very, very summer league vibe. Not because of the G League stuff. I am just a believer in Johan because you just watch a guy at that size at his age move like a normal athletic person and not look like a big clumsy oaf. And it's like, well, it's going to be very hard for that guy not to be a good basketball player.
It was so telling in training camp. Whenever I'd ask a player about Johan, they'd be like, he catches the ball. And like, at first I thought it was kind of like a Rudy slight, but then you look at like bigs around the league, like most of them can't catch the basketball. So like the fact that we got a guy that looks like a normal human running and he can catch the ball. Like,
and so like Rudy has terrible hands, but also big men in the NBA, like to contextualize it, I always think of like, think about you're like playing on like a mini basketball hoop and like those tiny rubber basketballs.
Yep.
And think like someone like throws you a bounce pass with one of those things. Like you are not catching it cleanly very often. And that's like the same like proportional size. Like my hands to that basketball is like a typical NBA big man's like giant hands on what is a tiny basketball to them.
I mean, what I will say is what I've learned from this G League experience is that Johan is too good to be playing in the G League. Like kind of the same thing with TJ, where TJ went back down there for like 2 rehab stints and scored like 36 and 24 minutes. Like that's kind of the
transition and fouls game. You couldn't cook up a better format for TJ Shannon to cook.
I mean, you don't need a left hand when all you have to do is dunk on people. Like I do think like Johan, that's kind of what I learned though, is okay, this guy's better than a G League player. He needs to be up on the main roster for probably the home stretch here. And like, I don't know, even Rocco, like watching him do some drills today, just after, while we were waiting around at shoot around, like there's something there. I don't know if it'll ever be a good, like
I hope he
productive
needs to be able to
player.
move a little bit. like he is a pretty stationary player from what I've been able to see.
He is not a athlete, I think is what I would categorize him, but like he's doing some like, you know, like off the pick pocket pass, like floater stuff from mid range and then like fading back and hitting threes. And it's just like, he is a good shooter. Like, again, I don't know if it's good enough to be like a productive NBA player, but like the fact that there's just guys like even Leonard Miller, who's doing really well in Chicago, where it's like, he's a really good rebounder. There's just something about, like, Tim just has this knack of like bringing guys into the building where at least there's like, you can see it. Like even Rob, that first step, don't know if any of them will turn out, but at least there's like something there, which I always think back to like when Travion Graham got traded to the Wolves, and it's like, oh, this guy has like nothing.
What does the good version of this look like? This guy who can't really shoot and can't really defend and can't really dribble.
He's isn't not tall enough to rebound. Like at least there's like, okay,
6'4", 25% 3-point shooting guard. That's not very good defensively
and can't pass. It's just like, I don't know. I like watching these guys kind of do stuff and then seeing them in the G League. It's at least encouraging of like, okay, there's one thing they can do, which I guess only time will tell, but it's encouraging. Johann's fun.
Yeah. I think he's going to play. I think he'll play next year. Like, I think they'll go into next year with the plan being for him to play. Because like you said, I think he's too good for the G League. And I think at the very least, like, he can play bit minutes, in like a worst case scenario, just because he's such an incredible athlete.
It's also just like, again, you like ask the coaches and other players about him, and people like legitimately kind of light up when they're talking about Johann. Not to say that they didn't with Rob, but with Rob, it was a lot of like, yeah, you know, things just have to slow down for him. You know, he's waiting for his opportunity. With Johann, it's like, yeah, he swatted Jaden in practice, and that was pretty awesome. All right, Brandon, we're at the 40-minute mark, though. I do want to give you space. Anything you have to plug? Have you been able to find Jolly? Is he alive and well? How's the pod recordings going with him overseas?
So we're in touch. We're in touch with Jordan. He's active in the group chat. He's in a much different time zone than us, though. And so every once in a while we'll just be like, Jolly, what time is it? And he'll be like, it's 4 a.m. And I'm like, why are you awake? But yeah, he's Jolly's out there. He's watching the Wolves. He's participating in the group chats. So yeah, you can follow us at No Pants Crunch. You can listen to our pod. We will be releasing a podcast this week, but it is not going to be about the games going on because we recorded it last week. Jolly did not bring his recording equipment with him to Japan. So we were kind of thinking it would be pretty funny if they had just like lost to the Suns today. And it was like, Ants out for 2 weeks. They're 1 out of the play-in. They've lost 5 of 6. Here's the Game of Thrones basketball draft from Crunch Wears No Pants.
That would have been royalty.
I think that's dropping tomorrow. Jolly scheduled it, I think. But yeah, follow us, listen to our pod, and go Wolves.
I mean, I don't know if you saw it today, but K-Mac is in the Twin Cities getting up shots at Mayo Clinic. So I've never been more excited and encouraged that a CBA is going to get done than when I saw K-Mac at Mayo Clinic Square today.
I don't want all this like open up a big can of worms for us to go a really long time. But do we think there's going to be a season?
I do. I think right now it's a matter of like them arguing over 5% difference on a revenue share. I think it's really encouraging that like K-Mac's in town, Lan and BC are both getting kind of stuff tweeted out by the Lynx. Natasha Cloud has been kind of sounding off on Instagram and stuff about like wanting to be back in New York. Like, I think the players at least believe that this thing is about to finish up, which I don't know if that means it's like tomorrow that it comes out. But again, like if there wasn't a CBA on the horizon, like K-Mac wouldn't have gone from Turkey to Minneapolis. Like, she'd probably be in Pennsylvania somewhere.
Okay, well, you've given me hope. I'll spread this hope in the group chat.
And like, I mean, the other side of hope of it is March Madness is right here, and the Lynx have the number 2 overall pick. So I know 45 minutes into a pod, but I'm getting itchy to talk Lynx basketball because they're going to be phenomenal this year.
They're so good.
All right, man. We will be back tomorrow after the lovely Utah Jazz game, in which hopefully like more than 8 actual NBA players play for Utah tomorrow, but I guess I won't be hopeful.
Hopefully not.
I don't know, man. Like this team, they're just such a weird team.
I think Nas is probably not going to play tomorrow, if I had to guess. Yeah. So I think if the Jazz want to tank that one out, Jazz want to give Keontae George the night off, they go right ahead.
I just like Nas, give him the night off, and then just let's have like a 40-point Jaden night. I think that would be fun.
Maybe we go back into the Terrence Shannon Jr. well.
Yeah.
That's kind of a G League game.
I mean, again, there might not be 8 actual NBA players playing for the Jazz tomorrow, but we'll be back after that game with a couple of the guys from Minnesota. Please understand Sports Pod. Brandon, thank you, man, for coming on. Always appreciate it. And everyone for listening. If you came into this late, because I know there was other post-game shows going on, you can catch it over on YouTube and X as soon as I end the stream. If not, it does get published tomorrow, the 18th at 7 a.m. You can always check it there, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.